O Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. O Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Oh Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada. O Jaya Gurudeva, Srila Gurudeva. O Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. O Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We'll all say the prayers together. Narayana namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tatho jayamudirayet. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead Narayan, unto Naranarayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nashta prayeshu abhatreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed. And loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Om Jnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Hare Krishna. So today we are going to be reading from chapter 30. The title of the chapter is called Description of description by Lord Kapila of adverse fruitive activities. Today we are going to be reading from text 1 all the way to text 18, and we are going to deep dive into text number 3. So text 1. So what we'll do is we'll maybe go from here, and you can read the translation, and then we can go on like that.
The personality of Godhead said, "As a mass of clouds does not know the powerful influence of the wind, a person engaged in material consciousness does not know the powerful strength of the time factor by which he is being carried."
So here, what's interesting is Kapila Muni is now explaining the question which was raised by his mother, Devahuti. So Devahuti asks a question to Kapila Dev that, please explain to me what are the adverse effects of the fruitive activities. She wants us, by her question, she wants us to be able to understand how precarious we are in this material world. And the first answer which her son Kapila Dev, Kapila Muni, is giving is for us to be able to understand the importance of time. Right? So Chanakya Pandit, he was a great scholar in India, and he had actually explained what is the value of time. Even if you have $1 billion and you try to give that for a moment of time, you cannot give it. You cannot get a moment time back. That is how precious our time is. Anybody who wastes this valuable time, either materially or spiritually, that person has actually wasted the most precious gift which we have been given in this human form of life. And here Kapila Dev is explaining how the same person who is being carried by the time factor, which is actually Krishna himself, the example given here in this text is like a mass of clouds. Just like a mass of clouds does not know the influence of wind and just gets carried away, we in this body are getting carried away by the factor of time, which is Krishna. Okay, text 2.
Whatever is produced by the materialist with great pain and labor for so-called happiness, the Supreme Personality, as a time factor, destroys, and for this reason the conditioned soul laments. So
we see that great empires have been destroyed by this time factor, right? We had the British Empire, the mighty British Empire, where the sun never set, right? And Srila Prabhupada once made the comment that the sun never sets on the British Empire, but I'm here in London, but I never see the sun shining. So the British Empire, the French Empire, the Ottoman Empire, the Mughal Empire, right? So many empires came about, and they were all trying to conquer land, and they're all destroyed by the time factor. In the same way, we are trying to use our time to create so many things, right? Our house, our land, our car, our family, right? One day, everything is going to be taken away by this time factor. So the purpose of time is actually to destroy everything, right? And that's what this explains. Text 3.
The misguided materialist does not know that his very body is impermanent and that the attractions of home, land, and wealth which are in relationship to that body are also temporary. Out of ignorance only, he thinks that everything is permanent.
So we'll come back to text 3. So let's go to text 4.
The living entity, in whatever species of life he appears, finds a particular type of satisfaction in that species, and he is never averse to being situated in such a condition.
So that is our illusion, right? Maya has two activities. One activity of Maya is called Avarnatmika, and the other one is Prakshepatmika. So our Natmika means covering. Maya covers us. And Prakshepatmika is pulling us down. Right? So a person who is a well-to-do person, when they look to a person who is not well-to-do, they think that, oh, what a condition this person is in. But the person who is not well-to-do, they're happy, they're satisfied. Right? That is our condition. We feel right now satisfied. Why? Because we are covered by Maya. And we have been pulled down. We are actually Satchid Ananda. But because of our covering, the covering of the three modes, we actually get pulled down. That is the illusion which we live in. We start to consider that we are in first-class position. We are actually prisoners in this material world. A prisoner who is in a prison house, they have only one motive, and one motive only. How do I get out of this prison house? They're not trying to make their place perfect. Let me have a good couch, let me have a good TV in the prison house. No. Their only business is to get out. And that is our position as well. We are in this prison house and we are trying to make our prison house comfortable. We're trying to be different classes of prisoners. But our only aim should be to get out of this prison house. Text 5.
The conditioned living entity is satisfied in his own particular species of life, while diluted by the covering influence of the illusory energy. He feels little inclined to cast off his body, even when in hell, for he takes delights in hellish enjoyments.
So we get so deluded, we get so riveted in this body. Like as soon as we get this body, we get riveted. We start to feel that we are this body. Whatever belongs to us is ours. An example given in Shastra is Indra, who was the king of the demigods. He once had offended his spiritual master. His spiritual master's name was Brahaspati. Brahaspati cursed him, and he was cursed to actually go down to the material world as a hog. And he was enjoying his lifetime there, with his hog wife, his hog kids, eating stool. This person who was actually the king of heaven, he was enjoying himself in this hog life. Lord Brahma, after a while, came down and tried to remind him that, oh, my dear Indra, you're actually the king of heaven. Why don't you come back? And he did not want to come back. He said, no, I'm very satisfied here. I'm enjoying my life. Right? That is our condition. Our condition here is that we are in this hellish life and Krishna is saying, please come back. Please, come. But we're like, no, we're okay, Krishna. We're enjoying ourselves here. Right? Okay, so this is the illusion. This is the illusion which we are in. And this illusion happens when we get riveted in this body. Right? And the reason we are fallen down is because of Maya's covering. Right? Which we just read, the three coverings. Text 6.
Such satisfaction with one's standard of living is due to deep-rooted attraction for body, wife, home, children, animals, wealth, and friends. In such association, the conditioned soul thinks himself quite perfect.
So the issue here is that we are on this mental plane. We are hovering on this mental plane. And because we are hovering on this mental plane, we get dragged down again into this material existence, which is temporary. Only a person who does not act on the mental plane, but actually is on the spiritual plane, that person is actually elevated to the spiritual platform. And how does that happen? That happens in the association of devotees. Text 7.
Although he is always burning with anxiety, such a fool always performs all kinds of mischievous activities, with a hope which is never to be fulfilled in order to maintain his so-called family and society.
So we get attached to the asat. Asat is temporary. Our temporary families, our temporary wife, our temporary children, right? We get attached. We get riveted. We actually forget our eternal family, right? Which is with Krishna. And the family we maintain is actually created by Maya. It's a perverted reflection of the family which we have in Krishna Loka. The materialist, we don't know that this family, this society, this friendship, these are just mere shadows of the spiritual world. And because of this, our hearts are burning. And in spite of all this inconvenience, we still try to maintain all these false designations, our false families. Text 8.
He gives heart and senses to a woman who falsely charm him with Maya. He enjoys solitary embraces and taking with her, and he is enchanted by the sweet words of the small children.
So now, Krishna, as Kapila Muni, is explaining the shackles of this prison house. And what are the shackles which bind us? It is the family life which we are in, right? We get enamored in this family life. And then we start to work hard every day, day in and day out, to maintain this family. And this is actually the knot which comes into our heart. As soon as we are in our family life, this knot gets stronger and stronger. And what does Krishna say in the Bhagavad Gita? How can we cut this knot? Somebody? Knowledge and detachment. Knowledge and detachment, these are like sharp swords which can cut this knots of material life. Okay, next verse.
The attached householder remains in his family life, which is full of diplomacy and politics, always spreading miseries and controlled by acts of sense gratification. He acts just to counteract the reactions of all his miseries, and if he can successfully counteract such miseries, he thinks that he is happy.
So, Kapila Muni knew exactly what we all have to go through, right? He says, being in householder life is full of diplomacy and politics. Right? Have you all experienced that? Yes. Right? Always spreading miseries controlled by the acts of sense gratification. So, Srila Prabhupada explains that it is, we don't want to be grahamedis, but we want to be grahastas. Right? A grahamedi is somebody who is always concerned with only the family life. How can I maintain my family? He's working, toiling, day in and day out, trying to maintain his family. And even at the time of death, he's only thinking, what is going to happen to my family? That is a grahamedi. But a grahastha is somebody who, in material life, is trying to elevate not only himself, but everyone around him as well. So, being a grahastha is bona fide, and we have to ensure that we are not only taking care of ourselves, but also elevating who is around us. And the happiness in the world, which the so-called happiness in the world, which we're seeing around, that is only an illusion. Right? This is what Kapila Muni is explaining here. Okay, text 10.
He secures money by committing violence here and there, and although he employs it in the service of his family, he himself eats only a little portion of the food thus purchased, and he goes to hell for those for whom he earned the money in such an irregular way.
So he is toiling day in and day out for his family. Sometimes when he doesn't earn money in a good way, he tries to earn money in an irregular way. Why? just to maintain his family. So Srila Prabhupada explains that there's a Bengali proverb which says, the person for whom I have stolen accuses me of being a thief. His own family starts to call him a thief. And why is he doing that? He's just doing that to maintain his family. That is the precarious situation we are in this material life. And the main thing is that we need to serve Krishna, who is our best well-wisher. And the reason why Devahuti is asking all these questions is for us to be able to understand the position we are in. Only when we understand the position we are in, we'll be able to understand where we need to get out. And where do we need to go to? Okay, text 11.
When he suffers reverses in his occupation, he tries again and again to improve himself. But when he is baffled in all attempts and is ruined, he accepts money from others because of excessive greed.
Okay, text 12.
Thus, the unfortunate man, unsuccessful in maintaining his family members, is bereft of all beauty. He always thinks of his failure, grieving very deeply.
Text 13.
Being him unable to support them, his wife and others do not treat him with the same respect as before, even as miserly farmers do not accord the same treatment to their old and worn out oxen.
So here, Kapila Muni is explaining what happens to this person who is working so hard day in and day out to maintain his family. Sometimes he does it by going and working honestly. If he doesn't have a job, he tries to get dishonest ways to get money, and then his family calls him a thief. And at one point, when he's not able to support the family then don't treat him with respect. Right? They just leave him. And Kapila Muni is explaining that before that happens, we have to get out of material life. Right? And understand what is the real purpose of our human form of life. Okay, text 14.
The foolish family man does not become averse to family life, although he is maintained by those whom he once maintained. Deformed by the influence of old age, he prepares himself to meet ultimate death.
Text 15.
Thus he remains at home just like a pet dog and eats whatever is so negligently given to him. Afflicted with many illnesses such as dyspepsia, and loss of appetite, he eats only very small morsels of food, and he becomes an invalid who cannot work anymore.
So this is the situation. The place he was in, he considered himself the master of the family, the head of the household. This person now, when is not able to maintain, he is kept as a pet dog. The example given in our Shastras is of Dhritarashtra, right? Dhritarashtra after the war. So this blind king, who was also spiritually blind, this person, he waged the whole battle of Kurukshetra because of his blindness. And after the whole Kurukshetra war, Maharaj Yudhishthira and all the Pandavas, they kept him so nicely at home. But he had no self-respect, right? He was just being maintained there. And to wake him up from that miserable condition, his brother Vidura came back from pilgrimage just to inform him that now is the time for you to actually make spiritual progress. That is going to be our condition. So we need to understand that we have to take full advantage of this human form of life, which we get so rarely after millions of lifetimes. Okay, text number 16, sorry.
In that diseased condition, one's eyes bulge due to the pressure from air within, and his glands become congested with mucus. He has difficulty breathing, and upon exhaling and inhaling, he produces a sound like gura gura, a rattling within the throat.
So he's lying on his deathbed, and all his relatives around him are encouraging him to speak. Like, what are your wishes? The only reason they're asking him to talk is so he can tell them where he has kept the money. Is there any money? Where's the money? What are we going to get as inheritance? Right? And that's the problem. Right? Even at that moment, they're all engaged just to understand what's in it for me. But this person, he's not able to speak. Right? Okay, text 17.
In this way, he comes under the clutches of death and lies down, surrounded by lamenting friends and relatives. And although he wants to speak with them, he no longer can because he is under the control of time.
Text 18. So this is our last text for today.
Thus the man who engaged with uncontrolled senses in maintaining a family dies in great grief. Seeing his relatives crying, he dies most pathetically in great pain and without consciousness.
So this is the state of a person who's absorbed in family life. Do we want this kind of life? No. All right. And the reason why we are reading this is because Devahuti is asking these questions not only for herself, but for all of us. And these questions, they help the general populace so we can understand what is our condition and we are able to wake up from this condition. So let's go back to text number 3 and we'll go deep into the purport. So I'll do word for word. Yat adhruvasya dehasya sa anubandhasya dhurmatihi dhruvani manyate mohat griha kshetra vasuni cha yad adhruvasya dehasya sanubandhasya dhurmatihi dhruvani manyate mohat griha kshetra vasuni cha yad adhruvasya dehasya sanubandhasya dhurmatihi dhruvani manyate mohat griha kshetra vasuni cha yad adhruvasya dehasya sanubandhasya dhurmatihi dhruvani manyate mohat griha kshetra vasuni cha. Would you like to repeat? Yad adhruvasya dehasya sanubandhasya dhurmatihi dhruvani manyate mohat griha kshetra vasuni cha.
Yad adhruvasya dehasya
sanubandhasya dhurmatihi
Dhurvani manyate mohat griha kshetra vasuni cha
Yad adhruvasya dehasya sanubandhasya dhurmatihi dhruvani manyate mohat Grihashetra Vasuni Cha. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The misguided materialist does not know that his very body is impermanent and that the attractions of home, land, and wealth which are in relationship to that body are also temporary. Out of ignorance only, he thinks that everything is permanent. Purport. The materialist thinks that persons engaged in Krishna consciousness are crazy fellows, wasting time by chanting Hare Krishna. But actually, he does not know that he himself is in the darkest region of craziness because of accepting his body as permanent. And in relation to his body, he accepts his home, his country, his society, and all other paraphernalia as permanent. This materialistic acceptance of the permanency of home, land, etc. is called the illusion of Maya. This is clearly mentioned here. Mohad grihashetra vasuni. Out of illusion only does the materialist accept his home, his land, and his money as permanent. Out of this illusion, the family life, national life, and economic development, which are very important factors in human civilization, have grown. A Krishna conscious person knows that this economic development of human society is but temporary illusion. In another part of Srimad Bhagavatam, the acceptance of the body as oneself, the acceptance of others as kinsmen in relationship to this body, and the acceptance of the land of one's birth as worshipable are declared to be the products of an animal civilization. When, however, one is enlightened in Krishna consciousness, he can use these for the service of the Lord. That is a very suitable proposition. Everything has a relationship with Krishna. When all economic development and material advancement are utilized to advance the cause of Krishna consciousness, a new phase of progressive life arises. So the translation again was, the misguided materialist does not know that his very body is impermanent and that the attractions of home, land, and wealth which are in relationship to that body are also temporary. Out of ignorance only, he thinks that everything is permanent. So here, Srila Prabhupada is explaining the purport about who is crazy, right? People on the outside are thinking that we are crazy, and we on this side think they are crazy, right? But the main point what Srila Prabhupada is explaining is that they don't know that they are in the darkest region of craziness because they accept the body as permanent, right? That is the illusion of Maya. Now, if we find a person who is crazy, right? They forget who we are, who am I, who is my father, who is my family, right? A crazy person forgets that. What is the best gift we can give to that person? To remind them, thank you. To remind them that this is your father, this is your family, right? So that is our condition. We have now forgotten. And Krishna comes down in so many different incarnations for us to be reminded that we have forgotten who we really are. This body is changing every second, right? We were all babies once, and we look at pictures. What happened to that body? That body is gone, right? but we remain. Right? So who are we? We are the soul. That body is temporary, it's not permanent. But we, the soul, are permanent. We go from boyhood to youthful, to adult, to old age, and to death. And at death, the body has completely changed. Right? At death, we leave this body and we take a new body. The soul is the same, but the body keeps changing. So it's very important for us to understand that the body is temporary, and by the effect of time, that body is going to be destroyed one day. Right? And that is why Devahuti is asking these questions to her son, Kapila Muni. So Devahuti is a very, very powerful person, right? She was the daughter of Swayambhuva Manu, right? He was a very, very powerful king. She was the wife of Kardama Muni. Okay, just checking if you all are awake. Good. Right? She was the wife of Kardama Muni, who was such a powerful sage. Who did she get as her son? Kapila Muni, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. She was a powerful person, right? She is asking these questions for us to be able to understand in what precarious situation we are in. And then Kapila Muni is explaining the relationship we are in, this bodily relationship, which is all temporary. The wife, the family, the car, the home, this is all a bodily relationship. As soon as the body dies, all these relationships go away. So this is the illusion which we are in, right? And isn't that amazing, right? That we get into Maya, right? We get covered, we fall down, and we start to think that this is real. And this is called Agyan, right? This is Agyan. And what really is ours, Sri Krishna, who really is ours, we reject that person, that Supreme Personality of Godhead. And we start to accept everything which is around us. So Sri Krishna is everywhere, and we still don't pay any attention to that which is eternal. And instead we give attention to what is temporary, right? So therefore Krishna takes incarnation to come down to explain to us what our situation is. And that's the reason why the Srimad Bhagavatam is so important. It helps us to understand that we are running behind so many different things, and at time of death, everything is destroyed. Like if you ask a person who is on their deathbed that where are you going, right? The person is saying, okay, I'm going to leave now. But if you ask the person, where are you going? The person doesn't know, right? The example given is a person who is on a train, and he's telling the people around him that I'm going to get off. And if people ask him, where are you going to get off? He says, I don't know, right? That is the situation we're in. We don't know what's going to happen. Where are we going to go? We have no idea. The person can go to hell, the person can go to heaven, can take an animal form, can take a tree, a human form. And this human form, when the person takes the human form, this human form we get after millions of lifetimes. The human form is called Arthadham because we're able to understand our true identity. So the main point is that the body, in the human form, people are trying to advance their human birth, right? Their human life by taking different kinds of medicines. So Tulsidas explains that don't take all these different medicines, these concoctions. Just take one medicine, which is the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Just by taking this one medicine, we are going to be able to understand who we really are, who Krishna is, and what is our relationship to Krishna. Only take this Amrit, and that will be able to help us go back home, back to Godhead. He also then says that this body has so many different parts, but all these different parts are not attached to you, Krishna. However, I just have one part, which is my tongue. And through the tongue, I'm chanting the holy name. So my whole entire body is not in tune, but only with this tongue, I am chanting your holy name. So please have some mercy upon me, so I'm able to come back to you. So the main point here is that we have to first understand the situation we are in, right? Only when we understand the situation we are in, we will be able to understand that we need to get out of the situation. And how can we get out of the situation? By actually taking full advantage of this human birth. This human birth we have got very, very rarely. And when we take full advantage of this human form of life by performing devotional service, which is very easy, right? And is joyfully performed. In this age, we don't even have to sit for millions of lifetimes to meditate, right? Like Dhruva Maharaj, right? How many austerities he went through. Standing on one leg, drinking only air, once in 3 days, right? We don't have to do all these austerities. The only austerity or yajna which we have to perform is the Hare Krishna Yajna, the Sankirtan Yajna, which is joyfully performed, right? Chanting the holy name, having prasad, and then sharing this gift with everyone. And when we share this gift with everyone, Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita that that person becomes very, very dear to me. Right? So I'm going to stop here and see what kind of reflections you all have, and we can have more discussion. Hare Krishna. Mother Kunti. Who has the mic?
Sometimes we see that there's some very strong relationships between children and their parents, and so the question is that sometimes those emotions are very strong, and at the time of death, what do we hope to do here? Are we praying to just transfer that love to Guru and Krishna? Or, because you can't just give up love for somebody. Is it a matter of just putting Krishna in the middle? Or how does this transpire? How does this transference happen? Because the attachments are very strong.
Mm-hmm.
Children to their parents, and back and forth. Maybe a husband and wife, they have some strong affection, or, these relationships happen, And I think the child-parent relationship is very strong. So do you have any guidance on that? Thank you.
Yeah, so the relationships are strong, and it's because of love, right? Because we care. We start to feel like they're our kids. And it's very important as parents that we have to take our responsibilities very seriously of taking care of our kids, nurturing them. Like Srila Prabhupada says that these kids who we have, they're not ordinary kids. These are kids who are, these are Vaikuntha kids. Why? Because they are special. They are just starting from where they left off. So as parents, we have to nurture them. We have to give them the right guidance, and we have to give them the right environment so they can grow with love. Now, at our time of passing away, we are going to have attachments to our kids. However, if we can cultivate our life in such a way that we understand by reading these verses of Srimad Bhagavatam that the soul is eternal, and yet we ensure that we have done our responsibilities in the right way. We have given them the right foundation that they will be able to live their life even after we leave this body. I think if we are able to do that and cultivate ourselves in such a way, then when we are leaving the body, then we will be at a place where we'll be at peace. And also I've seen that Krishna takes care. Like when we are about to leave our body, we start to feel like, what's going to happen to our kids? Who's going to take care of our kids? However, we have to be rest assured that Krishna is going to take care. Krishna is going to make all arrangements to actually take care of the kids. And I remember, a few years back, we had a devotee who was leaving her body, and she had a daughter. And I was at the hospital when she was about to leave her body. And it was a very profound experience for me, because I was thinking, what's going to happen to her daughter? And then she passed away, like she left her body. And then I noticed how Krishna actually made all the arrangements for that daughter, for that girl. And it helped me realize that, if we live our life in the right way, in the right mode, for ourselves and for our kids, and we give them the right foundation, one, they'll be able to lead their lives in the right way, and then we have to be rest assured that Krishna is going to take care. Hope that's okay. Hare Krishna. Okay, some reflections from here. Priyanka. Here comes the mic.
I feel like that it's really amazing that we have to kind of understand that, like, even our connections that we make in the material world are also, like, they're still material, right? They're not going to be there forever. So to think that also transverses into relationships such as, like, a mother and, like, children, or the whole nuclear family. It's interesting hearing Kapila talk about how these are also, like, temporary. And then we should, like, also view these not to be as more important than our seva, things like that.
Very nice, thank you. I have a follow-up question for you. So now that you are in college and you've left home and you're not with your family so often, how has that changed for you?
Like in terms of life, I guess?
Yeah.
I think that when you're inside the family, there's responsibilities that you'll have, like, I guess, taking care of the other family members and things like that. But versus when you're by yourself, it's completely, I think that's probably why I feel like my seva has probably improved so much, because now it's like I'm the one who has to drive it. Now I have to be the one who does my rounds. I'm the one that wakes up early to try and bathe to do them and things like that. Like, I'll have the responsibility this time. It's not really me being the one, I guess, taking care of my family members. It's now me taking care of myself and my seva.
Nice, thank you. Krishna, yes.
I really like the point that you made where it's like the relationships that we have in the material world are just a reflection of what, like, we have in the spiritual world. It just shows, like, that we can develop that much love for Krishna if we have that much connection with other people. Like family, friends, and then we have that relationship, and then sometimes you think about it and you're like, wow, I really love this person, and then we can actually build that connection with Krishna. And so, like, the fact that we have the opportunity and everything to be able to know what it feels like to love Krishna, and once we can gain attachment for Krishna like we have for, like, everybody else in our life, I just think it's, like, a good reminder that every relationship that we have in the material world is kind of a reflection of how we behave with Krishna in the spiritual world. It's like a nice reminder.
That's a beautiful point. It's very important that we should understand that whatever situation we are being put in is for us to be able to learn something from that situation. And the situation where we are able to develop relationships with others will help us, when we are actually there back home. So thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you for class. It's very nice. My understanding about this relationship with, family members' relationship with her children is that if they are devotees, then we are attached to devotees. And if we cultivate that consciousness within us, I've been told that because I've lived in the Krishna House ashram for a few years now. And so I was told that Grihastha ashram is also an ashram. So you should see your husband as your temple president or whatever, and you should see your children as your ashramites, and you should take care of them in that way. And so you see them as devotees, and you see them as servants of Krishna. And so then your attachment to them is not, you'll still have that. That's natural and it's good and you're supposed to, but it won't be the focus, the bodily connection. The focus will be, oh, this is a servant of Krishna and I'm basically their guru right now, and so I need to help them go back to Godhead. Just as our gurus love us also, but not based on the body, but the love is still there. And so we can think, well, when I leave my body, when we go back to the spiritual world, maybe we won't be in the same exact, service, like I won't be their mom or anything, but, kind of in my mind, I think I'll see you there. And I can always be your well-wisher, just as our spiritual master is always our well-wisher. This kind of consciousness.
That's beautiful. Yeah, thank you. And I think for us to be able to cultivate that is when we actually read these verses, right? If we don't read the Srimad Bhagavatam, Nityam Bhagavata Sevya, if we don't do Nityam Bhagavata Sevya in the association of devotees and we have this Ishta Goshti, we get trapped. We get trapped in our day-to-day activities, and we then start to think that, this is my family, this is my home, my kids, my wife. But when we actually read and we cultivate that, yes, we are in this position, so we're able to not only lift ourselves, but also lift everybody who's around us. So we are able to come back a little bit more closer to Krishna. I think then it becomes service. So thank you, Hare Krishna.
I was thinking that this is an example for me that the mode of goodness can be trouble also. Because my experience in my life and preaching is that when people are distressed, it's kind of easy to renounce, this false renounce. And often, for the sense of preaching, somebody will come distressed and they get some relief from it. Oh, this is nice, this, and then all of a sudden they kind of disappear, So similarly, I know that a lot of devotees come from a pretty mode of goodness situations, but being born in the Western world, not in front of, not with devotees and stuff, the lower modes are very, very attractive. And so you come from this distressed situation and it's easy to renounce, but then you start to become a devotee and you start to have nice relationships and nice schedule and your work, is not so bad, And so some of these things start to come in even more, this attachment and that everything is okay. So I guess my question would be is how should we see the mode of goodness and how to not let it bind us even more? Because we hear Srila Prabhupada say the mode of goodness is the best way to become Krishna consciousness. But there can be a trap there. So how do we understand that trap and how to overcome it?
Yeah, so the mode of goodness, like Srila Prabhupada says, that when we are in this mode of goodness, then it is very easy for us to be able to transcend the three modes. Like imagine if you're in mode of passion or mode of ignorance. At that time, the association which we have is also going to be with people who are in that mode. And we're going to keep falling in that trap more and more. But when you're in the mode of goodness, in the association of devotees, that's the key point. The association of devotees, when we are actually doing devotional service, then automatically we start to understand that the mode of goodness is like your launching board for us to be able to go back and transcend that material platform into the spiritual platform. And how do we do that practically? We do that by following Srila Prabhupada's program. Waking up in the morning, which is in the mode of goodness, taking a shower, and what do we do right away? We actually come and see the beautiful form of Shri Shri Radha Kalachandji. Right? Immediately we are able to feast our eyes, right? It's a feast for our eyes. Our senses are already engaged in Krishna. Our tongue is engaged with Krishna. We're dancing in the temple room, right? And then we're actually performing Tulsi Arti, right? We're actually trying to pray to Tulsi Maharani to engage us in the service of Sri Sri Radha Kalachandji. Then we chant our rounds. Then we have Srimad Bhagavatam. Then we have Prasadam, right? It's like an overload of devotional activities. So, though we start in the mode of goodness, because we are in touch with all these different devotional practices as sadhaks, automatically we start to get the higher taste. And when we get that higher taste, then we're able to transcend even the mode of goodness and go into the transcendental mode.
I'm really appreciating this answer, Prabhuji, because I felt like a relief. Like just keep going, keep going. By Krishna's mercy, these things like attachment and these things that are maybe sometimes in our heart, like oh my gosh, He'll take those away. Just keep on following Srila Prabhupada. Keep on doing it. Just keep swimming.
Those are just the byproducts. All of that will come. It'll come, in time. Right? Talking about time. It's going to come in time, right? And all we need to do is just ensure that we're doing it every day, right? Like my Gurudev says, a good shooter always kept shooting. So we have to ensure that we're shooting, right? Yeah. Not blanks, but, right? Ensuring that we are actually every day doing our bit, right? It's like a war against Maya, right? We have to wear our armor before we go out into the material world. And our armor is actually chanting the holy name, right? Doing all these devotional services. Okay, any other final question, or we can stop here? No? Okay, all right, we'll stop here. If there are any discussions, we'll have it during Prasadam. Thank you, everybody. Hare Krishna. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Krishna.